Yes, hello. This is MediaMystic doing the first podcast for this channel, and today I'm going to be doing a podcast with my friend Benjamin Suchman, who is a fellow filmmaker, and what else are you?
I'm also I'm a fellow.
Yeah,
I'm
simple
also,
as that.
Simple as that, yeah.
Simply as that. Indie filmmaker
who is still trying to, get into Hollywood and make big budget blockbusters that break conventions and stuff, like my script for a potential big screen version of Kim Possible in live action and blah blah blah. So.
Yeah, and if you didn't know, he was also the director and writer behind many short films like Vanished, Fandemonium, Too Much of Me, and many more. And we have the posters all the way over there.
Yeah.
So already he's been accomplished in the field of filmmaking, as well as sending many of his projects to film festivals that has gotten enough exposure that shows he feels like he's ready to break into Hollywood, even though I have always tried to argue that you need more experience, you need a little bit more time, because we need to trust the fact that filmmaking is a process. It's not something that automatically you get in and you start making big budget movies and you become famous and all that stuff. Like, that can happen, but that's more like the exception, not the rule of filmmaking, and it's something that we need to be accustomed to, especially since making films is already a very difficult process to begin with. Most people just watch films and shows, but they never actually take the time to look at how hard it is to make a movie, how long it takes to write the screenplay, or to set up the pre-production and then the production and then the post-production phase. It's a headache, right? And it involves dozens of people, cast and crew. It involves people who are in editing or into directing or into producing or the cinematography or the production design, the designing the overall look of the film as it's seen on camera. We talked about mise-en-scene, which is a concept that pops up a lot in film terminology, which is something that we've learned in our time at Nova College, right?
Yeah.
Where it's basically everything that you see on the camera is intentional. It's part of the frame.
Yeah, even production and post-production, maybe even reshoots.
Yes, and sound design also.
And eventual release with cutting the trailers, dubbing the movie, and getting it onto the theater screens.
Yes, it's a complicated process, but at the end of the day, it's worth it when all of it pays off, whether the film becomes successful with critics or not, or if it makes a lot of money or not.
Yeah.
So right now we're going to be talking about various different topics, all related to film, all related to the media landscape as we currently see it, with 6 different topics, and they are about the aftermath of Disclosure Day, which is Steven Spielberg's latest movie about aliens that has been released for almost a month now at this point. We're going to be talking about the Odyssey, Christopher Nolan's latest movie that is based on the classic poetic story by Homer. Well, it's not really poetic, but it's you know what I mean. Homer's
Odyssey.
Yeah, Homer's The Odyssey, which is one of the most influential pieces of Western literature. The controversy surrounding that movie and how that movie's release could really impact things like mixing history and fantasy, as well as why are certain casting choices, certain creative choices sparking a lot of heated debates about representation and about creative liberties, right? And also talking about why Ben believes that Disney stories should be more merit-based, and Disney should emphasize remakes and sequels not because of the whole corporate monopoly of what he believes is, creative bankruptcy, but because it allows Disney to be more focused on the storytelling aspect over receiving backlash for literally anything that they do nowadays. That's what he believes.
What people think they do. Yeah, like especially like race or gender changing or agendas, which are most of that is completely false.
Okay. Yeah,
and stuff.
Next topic is going to be obsession in Backrooms, the imitators that might rise from the success of these films, especially since these are films made on a more smaller scale indie budget by younger filmmakers, and they have basically created headlines following the success that, oh man, YouTube is taking over Hollywood, but the reality might be more nuanced than that. And then the last 2 would be the genre preferences that have influenced Ben's films, and to the extension my films also, as well as whether social media needs a backseat for film criticism. Okay, so are you ready to start?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so first one. What do you think of Disclosure Day, now that it's been a month since the movie came out?
Well, I think it's a good movie. Very average at best. Like I'd say it's a good Spielberg movie. I mean, whether it's one of his best is subjective. I'll say it that. It's yes, art is subjective, to say the least. I don't think it's out of touch with today's society or any society whatsoever. I think it's a very interesting movie, and I think Spielberg has still got it in him.
Yeah, and much of the controversy that people say about Disclosure Day is that supposedly it's boomer propaganda because Steven Spielberg, well, he is part of the baby boomer generation, and he is of that generation of filmmakers that rose during the New Hollywood era in the 70s, and that people say that his bag of tricks when it comes to making blockbuster movies to draw people in, it's now starting to lose its luster. It's starting to lose its magic, its draw. Even though I think the film already contradicts that when you see in the movie that his film is very contemporary. It's very much set in today's times, and that he's trying to more so blend sensibilities of what his blockbuster films in the 80s did. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1977, or with Indiana Jones, or even with even Jurassic Park to an extent. That's the 90s, I know. But classic Spielberg, blockbuster filmmaking, big premises, ordinary characters in extraordinary situations, drawing on personal themes. That's what Spielberg has been consistently trying to deliver, regardless of his background experience, because that only informs what the films were inspired by, what the films were influenced by. It doesn't tell people that you must agree with my way of thinking, with my, messaging. It's more of a, here's how I see it, here's how I went through, and here's how I channel it. Because you got to remember that Spielberg channels a lot of personal themes in there. One of them is fatherhood, because you got to remember that Spielberg's dad was absent in his early life, and when you look at his films that try to examine the role of fathers in his own life or in the character's life, you can see that that's what he's trying to explore, is that, father figures are not just heroic, masculine, know-it-all authority figures. They're flawed too. I mean, they sometimes are not there for us, and when we need them most, sometimes we have to rely on our own determination, or we have to have another father figure, in our lives to look after us, or the father figure must find a way to reconcile that broken trust he had with his son or his daughter or whoever it is, right? You can see that pattern, especially in films like name any film that explores the theme of fatherhood. I'm gonna let you do it.
Wait, what? I'm sorry, what?
You did not listen to me?
Sorry, I didn't. I kind of, you lost me at the theme of fatherhood somewhere.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna repeat it. So, name any movie that Spielberg did that is about fatherhood.
I don't know. Maybe there was. I don't know. I want to say like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, because Henry Jones Jr. and Henry Jones Sr. different people, and yet they're father and son, and yet they're very estranged, especially from the beginning, and yet they still love each other, not just as father and son, but because they're also drawn to the adventure, to the theme through the archaeological exploration of the Holy Grail. But it's more than that, right? The Holy Grail is just a vehicle for them to explore what was missing in their relationship, right? I would say you look at films like you look at Jurassic Park. Alan Grant takes on the role of a father figure to look after the kids in that movie, even though he didn't want it to be a dad himself because he didn't like kids in that movie. That's another example. You could say Close Encounters, maybe, because the dad of the movie, he's there, but he's not really there, right? Especially when the aliens show up, right? Or am I getting my memory wrong?
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel it, obviously, I think I have a feeling that, well, I don't know, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen most of those movies.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, I get you. That theme occurred. Oh, The Fablemans. The Fablemans is his most recent movie.
Before Disclosure Day.
Yeah, before Disclosure Day. That actually gets to the point of what we're talking about, where Spielberg is not just into larger-than-life premises, but he's also into the familial, personal stories that he likes to tell about what his life experience was like, and how you see that throughout his films. Obviously, not all of his movies explore that, but many of his movies do. And I think that's interesting because it tells you that even someone like Spielberg, who's now older, getting older now, some people believe that he still has it. Some people believe that he's lost touch, but it's not really a fact that he's getting older. It's more of a fact that he's channeling a different energy now than what he did decades ago.
Yeah, and also let's not forget E.T.
E.T.'s another one too. I forgot to put that one because Elliot's dad is not in the movie. And guess what? E.T. had to take on a sort of fatherly role for him, right?
Yeah. It was based on the memory Spielberg had of
when his dad left him, right?
Yeah, and E.T. was an imaginary friend, that he made up. And I know that...
And do you believe that, do you believe that it's a way for him to warn people that, you should be closer to your dad, or that dads should be closer to their children? Do you believe that
everyone should be closer to their kids?
Yeah, because sometimes our parents just feel like they're not there for us. It's almost like that, right? And you look at that today. You look at how many parents now feel emotionally distant from their children. It's either because of technology, or it's because they're overly concerned with the geopolitics of today, or the economic conditions of today, or because of how much parenting has changed over time. It could be that, but I don't think that alone should be the single cause for why people feel distant, right? It might be something more, but I feel like that's just the larger context for why parents, like mothers or fathers, feel like they feel somewhat absent, right? Yeah. That's not who your parents are, right? Your parents are
no, my parents are still here.
Yeah. And another thing that Disclosure Day, I also feel like what we didn't touch on is the movie's, the conspiracy element about how the government was hiding aliens from the very beginning. And yet that's something that in real life people already knew from the beginning. Even though the evidence that the Pentagon gave us is still very inconclusive. Because officially we don't have real verified proof that, aliens have visited Earth since the beginning, and the government's been definitely hiding it from us. It's more of the government just kind of admits that, we don't know what these things are that we've captured. UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon, or UFOs, unidentified flying objects. It's more of it's less of we have confirmed evidence of aliens, and more of we don't know what these things are, and people are just calling it UFOs, aliens, right? It's more of that case, right? And the movie is basically exploring the implications of what would happen if aliens really did exist and we already knew they existed, and how would this completely change society, right? Because in the movie we have one of the characters who is a whistleblower who knew that the government was hiding information, and yet they were doing it to reconcile with what they already knew, right? And then we had another person, the girl character, who from her religious faith, she believed that she was asking whether this would change her beliefs. It would, would it destroy religion as we know it, right? And the nun character was suggesting that no, it would just expand what was already part of the divine plan. That's what she believed, right? And that is what the movie was trying to get at, the tension between, the evidence that we have for aliens existing and the belief that people have in God that shows where this line between the two blur. That is something that science fiction has explored a lot. Because before Disclosure Day, we had films that were asking that question, how much do we see in the two, right? How much do we see aliens and God as maybe not as separate things, but as very similar, interconnected concepts? So you're just using different language for it. And that is something that I think the movie was smart in trying to explore, but it was not deep enough, if you ask me. So what did you think about that part of the movie?
It's been a while since I've seen the movie.
Yeah, it's been a week, but I'm still giving you time to refresh.
Yeah, I feel like it deserves repeat viewings, just to get it.
The thing about the movie that I felt it was trying to do was be both classic Spielberg and modern espionage thriller, because Spielberg can go back and forth, right? because in the 2000s he did films that were mostly like modern thrillers, right?
Except for War of the Worlds.
No, that was a very contemporary movie, War of the Worlds, because he took the premise of the 1950s classic and he updated it for the post 9/11 crowd.
Yeah.
And that shows that Spielberg can do serious stuff. And of course, remember Schindler's List? That's a movie based on the Holocaust, and we know that Spielberg isn't just an escapist blockbuster director. Like, he can make films that can seriously touch on...
Heck, even to The Color Purple.
Yeah, The Color Purple. He can do films that can seriously touch on some of the most horrific events of human history.
Yeah, Saving Private Ryan, another example.
He does care about the human race. He does care about, making films that try to make us empathize with another perspective. And that's something that Disclosure Day is trying to convey. That we should empathize with aliens. We should empathize with people. In the sense that our world is so messed up right now, and that revealing aliens would probably mess that up even more. But even then, I feel like the movie either doesn't explore it deep enough, or it tries to awkwardly force it in there in a way that, like, okay, I get the message, that's a very good message, I really appreciate what the movie was aiming for, but the movie could have taken its time to really explore that. Even with its runtime of over 2 hours, I still feel like it didn't do enough. If it had been 3 hours long, that would have been a little bit better, right? But that would have driven people's patience, right?
Yeah.
So I would say that Disclosure Day, like, I like the experience of the movie, but the movie itself I'm very mixed on, because I feel like the movie is trying to juggle multiple things.
Yeah, I think it's a good movie. I think it could have just been either shorter or probably just tried another approach to its storyline, I guess. But, I think it just needs repeat viewings just to get it.
Yeah, and the things that I was immersed into watching it, so I was never bored watching the movie, which is great. I like when a movie, you are just sucked into the movie and you don't think about anything else. But when really thinking about the movie, I try to pause and see, like, how this plot point connects to this plot point, or how the villain wants this, or how the protagonists want to disclose this information, and yet it's like the movie does not stop, right? The movie just goes on, but it does not take the time to actually explore the topic. We're inferred through it because of the fragments and the bits of information that we're given, as well as when we find out that the aliens are, as much as mysterious beings as they are victims, because we saw in the movie, spoiler alert, for those who haven't seen the movie yet, the aliens have been shown in the historical footage that they have been tortured, right? That they've been used as experiments, and the humans at least shown in the footage that were part of the government agency, they were treating the aliens horribly for the sake of experimentation, right? Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
And then we get the scene where Emily Blunt's character and the other guy's character, I forgot his name.
Yeah.
They were visiting the house that we saw in the warehouse that was being constructed by the crew that was there. Yeah, and that's when they got the visions, and that's where Emily's character got to see her childhood revisited, when she got the vision that she was a girl and she saw the bird early in the movie that triggered her memory, and it triggered her telepathic abilities, right? You remember that, right? And how the aliens were communicating through the animals. Yeah, we got all of that. That showed us this is what happened. That shows Emily's character is here for a reason. That she's not just here talking in an alien language. She's here because she remembers all this. She remembers how all this played out. And by the end of it, when the alien was whispering to her the message that we never got to hear, and she said, "Listen," and then the camera cuts, it's like, wait, what was the message? Like, what was the thing that we were supposed to hear, right? Do you remember that, right?
Yeah, I do remember.
Okay, yes, he remembers. Okay. That's what makes me want to rewatch the movie and really see, wait, what was the message that the alien was trying to say? And maybe that's intentional. Maybe that abrupt ending was meant to encourage us, the audience, that, we should listen closer. And maybe the message was there already. We just didn't get to hear it. But the characters were explaining that she was speaking in math. She was speaking mathematical language. But even then, we didn't get the exact meaning of it. All we were told is that she was speaking in math. The math equation, right? So that is something that I feel like the movie, I think rewatching it would help, but I also feel like the movie could have done a little bit more to really get its point across without trying to rush it all, or trying to be like multiple genres at once, which again you can do. Multi-genre movies are absolutely fine. It's something that a lot of filmmakers now do. Multiple genres. It's just that the movie just feels like it's shifting towards Spielberg classic thriller, and then now it's like espionage action movie, and then like science fiction, and then like it's about a message of empathy. It's about trying to address the current political climate, and through the use of alien conspiracies, covering, disclosing all of this information. It's like pick one or two topics, right? Pick one or two of these, and then let the rest of it roll along naturally, not trying to force it in a way that is trying to sell like the next big, science fiction blockbuster that shows that, okay, I get what Spielberg was trying to do. I really appreciate it, that the movie was trying to be bigger, was trying to be very lofty for an sci-fi alien movie. I think that's kind of rare to do now, but it's just that some missteps happen that shows, we got a clunky kind of movie that shows it could have either simplified it a little bit, or it could have explored it more, in its longer runtime, I feel. I think that's all I have to say about Disclosure Day for now.
Absolutely.
Next, the Odyssey. What would you think about the movie, especially since we are...
Well, we are a week away from release, and the controversies that are surrounding it are utterly obnoxious and ridiculous. Because, probably just based on the casting decisions alone.
Okay,
how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm putting it right here. Hold on.
And yeah, it's just, in some cases, it's rooted in like misogyny, racism, and homophobia, transphobia. It's
like, I'm not deeply knowledgeable on Greek mythology or Greek storytelling in general, but I know enough about the Odyssey to understand that these are characters from a Greek story, right?
Yeah.
Now, we have actors like Elliot Page or Lupita Nyong'o, or who's the other one that was criticized?
There was a lot of them, that deserve far much more respect. Like, I can't even remember. Like, there was Matt Damon and a bunch of other people. Like, I can't even tell. Like even Anne Hathaway was in it. Like, this movie is already selling. Is already expected to sell pretty well in the ticket sales, and which means that whoever is against this movie is clearly going to end up not finishing that race, if anything. They are like seriously, the controversies are gonna backfire considerably. Like all those traditionalists and conservatives and purists and all those other people, they're all gonna end up like, they're all gonna end up like especially, and even Trump himself, they're all gonna end up like Napoleon this time around. And it just, I feel that, if anything, the Odyssey is a fantasy story, and it's better to to understand that fantasy is not the same thing as history.
Yeah, I think it's perplexing that people are riling up against the casting choices, especially when Nolan. Well, for one, Nolan is a director that does seem to, try to address the criticism of those films, right? Yeah. That shows that, he's trying to represent as much people as he can, even though he cannot represent everybody, because, he's restrained by the filmmaking system, that he works with, Warner Brothers, Universal.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that he is trying to draw from history as much as he can, but still interpret it through a creative lens that shows, I don't want everybody to just be the same looking person, right? I'm going to add some level of diversity in there for appeal, because this is a blockbuster movie that is drawing from a classic mythic story, and he's trying to do it for a wide audience. Because in the modern world, attention not only is the currency in the media landscape, but also you want to try to appeal to people as much as you can. Because if you try to appeal to like one group, it limits the appeal, right? It limits the reach that studios would need to generate box office revenue. And also audience, because people from all different backgrounds of life are going to watch the same movie. They're going to get something out of it. It's different.
Yeah, and Christopher Nolan, he doesn't even use social media. He doesn't even have an iPhone. Like he has like he still has a working pager, believe it or not. So like, if anything, he ain't gonna go onto your stupid forums, and call you out or respond to you. Like, if anything, he's busy, promoting his film.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's fine that some people, especially people like Nolan, and I think Tarantino also, I don't think he uses social media. He basically tries to deliver the film as it is, right? And to basically deliver the experience of what film is like to them.
And that's
how do you
kind
put
of
it? I don't know how to put it into words.
Well, probably the enthusiasm.
The cinematic experience.
The cinematic experience of film. Yeah, but of course, I think Christopher Nolan is better at it than Quentin Tarantino, in my opinion, because I feel like
I would agree.
Quentin Tarantino is kind of just a mischievous little kid in interviews at times. And
the thing about Tarantino is that, like, his style is not for everybody.
Not even me. So, but
and the thing is that he tends to, glorify the worst people in a movie, and also take my issue with Tarantino is that he takes the he takes the historical elements and tries to turn it into absurdist comedy instead of examining what history was actually like, right? Because he's revisionist, right? Revisionist storytelling.
He should be speaking against that stuff, like Mel Brooks is Blazing Saddles.
This is how I see history, rather than accepting that real history is messy. Real history involves a lot of people.
Real history was a mistake, and if anything, he even acknowledges that Django Unchained was was a very evil Wild West.
I wasn't not the biggest fan of that movie.
Good for you, because I can't stand the amount of F-words they use. N-words they use in that movie.
Yeah, a lot of racial slurs, a lot of F-words also in that movie, and it's just very grotesque, right?
I mean, I can stand an F-word.
The revenge story was interesting,
but an N-word is where I draw the line.
Yeah, okay. So the revenge stuff, interesting. Yes, I'm glad that the character we see in the movie, played by Jamie Foxx, he started as a slave and then he ends the movie as a free man. That's why his name, Django Freeman, is central to his character's journey. And, he becomes an outlaw, he becomes a cowboy, and he becomes he is the...
And a bounty hunter.
Bounty hunter, yeah, also. And he was trained by Christoph Waltz's character.
Who was a
bounty hunter. Former bounty hunter. So, yeah, the revenge stuff, that's cool to see. It's very useful character arc. It's something that is compelling to watch, but the way it's done and how, he basically adds that shock value where he's trying to show you, oh, look how bad this is. It's that's annoying. That's very obnoxious. Even though I didn't mind Leonardo DiCaprio's performance in the movie.
Yeah, after all, he did cut his hand partway through
the performance was still captivating, but obviously the character is very despicable, very hateful character.
Yeah, and in fact, even Tarantino himself said he did not like writing that character and despises it every time, and despises him out of every other character he's written.
Yeah. The thing is that character is still better than other racist characters, because at least DiCaprio's performance saved it, at least, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because other characters that are just really badly written, or are caricatures, or they don't feel like real people, because that's not how I picture real, xenophobic characters.
I mean, think about Michael Fassbender in 12 Years a Slave. Here's how you should be seen, how racist characters should be seen. Just not a very stereotype, but a very evil person.
Yeah, it's more subtle, and it's more this person sees a category. He does not see a person, and they're influenced by a system that told them to be this way. Because people are not born racist, right? People are not born as xenophobic. It's something that is developed because humans naturally fear other people. We fear the other because we don't know much about them, or we don't trust them. It's something that is part of our evolutionary journey when we started to protect our tribes, our groups, and we distrusted outsiders.
Yeah,
but it was not based solely on how you looked. It was based on things like loyalty. It was based on resources. It was based on status. It was based more on power dynamics. The whole concept of race, if you believe it or not, was developed because of the colonialism, because people in Europe saw other backgrounds as inferior, right? And that's very messed up, right?
Yeah, plus
and we live in the consequence of that.
Plus I'm kind of defensive of my, plus I feel kind of defending of, my stance as a Jewish man, even though I don't really care about religion that much, not even any religion.
Okay.
I'm not, clearly, and to be honest, and this is not to piss people off, I do not stand with Israel and I do not stand with Palestine. Because there are innocent people on both sides who are wrongfully accused of genocide.
And many of them are victims themselves because the war over there, especially when you look at the Gaza Strip right there, there's thousands of people there that are stuck there. And it's not because they chose to, it's because of the political mess that says, we own this area. Palestine says that. But even then, it's the dispute that's there is showing us that, how are they trying to neatly divide, the area right there, right? In terms of the religious identity that's there, because religion does play a factor, but it's more in the context of
but also people are saying, anti-Semitism as a defense and all that stuff. That's just an excuse.
So how do you think? And we're looking at the camera. How do you think this ties to the Odyssey in terms of the controversy? Because we went on all that rant.
Yeah, sorry, but I really hated to change the subject on that. But the Odyssey, you really shouldn't judge people by they look.
I think it does tie to the Odyssey because there is that sense that that actor, is not faithful to how the character is, even though we don't actually have verified.
Yeah, and plus they try to make an annoying freeze frame out of these actors.
Because one of the characters in the Odyssey, Helen, what was her name?
Helen of Troy.
Yeah, Helen of Troy. Yeah, we don't know what she looks like.
Plus the actress is beautiful despite being black, and not to sound racist, but that black actress that they got really is beautiful.
And that's perfectly fine. People of all backgrounds can be attractive.
Yeah.
I think the point is that Helen of Troy, she's meant to be an attractive woman, right? She's meant to draw in. She symbolizes. What did she symbolize?
Beauty, I guess.
Yeah, femininity and war, right?
Yeah, that.
She's meant to symbolize that aspect of femininity, and that's something that I think anyone can embody. It doesn't matter the background, because at the end of the day, women, we're drawn to how attractive they are, right?
Yeah, but this
applies to all women.
Yeah, but this isn't that the sensibility anymore. This is a different time than that. So maybe I might have sort of got lost in this subject a bit too long and made this a bit too short.
No, I think it's fine that we released that because it taps into broader, concerns about how Hollywood represents different groups, right?
Yeah. Plus,
and we mentioned the other films too, and I think it ties into that, even though it's not directly related to the Odyssey in some way, but it's just more broadly speaking. People are really picky about things like representation, about who plays who, and whether this is accurate to.
Yeah, and that's something that we'll get on to in the next topic, maybe.
Why Disney should prioritize stories based on merit, or Backrooms? Which one? Backrooms or Obsession?
The Disney topic.
Okay, the Disney topic first. So your question is. Should people prioritize Disney stories based on merit to do remakes and sequels to be better rather than focusing solely on backlash? Is that your question?
Yes, that. And even and even to go along with that, maybe especially upcoming Disney originals too, especially, and this is in the wake of Moana having come out this weekend at the time of this recording.
And it's so strange to think that only 10 years after the release.
Yeah,
of
that's the worst thing about this one, is that it's way too soon. Even though I am planning to see it on Wednesday, I promise. I am a survivor. But, like, let's be honest. People are taking all this way too far. Mostly the haters. But, if anything, there are, like, a lot of people that tend to think, you know, changing, like, someone's race or gender or even pushing an agenda is the reason for this movie not being, for a certain movie not being good. That's not true. That's just what other people tend to think, especially, and yes, that means you people watching. So, and look, I'm not trying to sound rude or condescending, but listen. Movies are meant to be consumed and judged based on two things: merit and content. That's it.
Okay, I'm writing it down.
It cannot be judged by controversy or backlash, unless, of course, they are from, like, say, a different time, like, you know, like, for example, you think about the first feature film to ever be made, The Birth of a Nation. Yeah.
B.W. Griffith, yep.
Yeah.
Heavily glorified the KKK. And it's very troublesome.
Yeah.
Even for its time, it was very troublesome.
Yeah, and that had and that rightfully earned its backlash. Even if it was praised for its cinematic, techniques, and pushing the boundaries of cinema, it still rightfully got criticized by many people, particularly those of all ethnic groups who protested against its distorted view of history and race relations. And a lot of people, particularly the African American film industry, began to rise up with movies of their own in response to all that controversy. The most famous was Within Our Gates, released in 1920. It's a silent film. I'm not going to detail all this. Just go to PBS Crash Course. I'm not going to waste the time on that, but you know what I mean. Like, if anything, I'm not gonna go into too much detail.
No, the title of the movie.
There was a movie called Within Our Gates in 1920. It was about a mixed race school teacher who tries to make a new life for herself amongst violence and prejudice.
Oh man, I haven't seen the movie.
It's a silent film from 1920, and it was directed by an African American at that time, and he was the first one to actually be successful, and it was more truthful and sincere than Birth of a Nation ever was. I mean, if anything, but also let's face it, like, Disney was just evolving as a company, and they still are to this day. We have to let them progress. We have to let them evolve, or else they'll remain stagnant and they'll go out of business. If they're stagnant in the same way as they were in, like, before the 90s, they would go out of business. It's as simple as that. Like, face it, you may say to Disney that it's not the 2010 anymore. Well, I'm going to say to you that it's not the 1990s anymore. They have to progress. Where were you when Frozen was out? Like, seriously. Like, Frozen is a true Disney classic, and here are you complaining that you don't feel like the kid that you were when the Disney movies that you saw as a kid were new. Why can't you just grow up like the rest of us? Face it. Face it, you're not even in the target audience of these new Disney movies. Like, especially Hexed, which is set to come out in November. And, I mean, plus, like, and if anything, you really gotta stop, criticizing really got to stop making smear campaigns against people just because they said something you disagree with, particularly along the lines of Emma Watson, Brie Larson, Rachel Zegler, Halle Bailey, you name it. Among other people, you know, like, something is wrong with you people. I am very concerned about what you're doing.
Who was the other? Brie Larson. Yep.
Yeah, and even Kathleen Kennedy, she's also been a victim of this tiresome and undeserved harassment. It's getting awful. Like, and besides, Bob Iger is already expected to leave in a year, so like, be grateful for that. Like, and even, you know, I feel like these Disney remakes and sequels and even new movies, particularly like Wish and yes, even the Mulan remake, I don't know. I saw that movie. Actually, it wasn't bad. I mean, honestly, the only Disney remake I disapprove of is the Lion King one, because why would you want to remake something with animals? It's not even it doesn't even need live action if it's all animals and no humans. You know, like, I'm sorry, but like, look, I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt, and it's just, you people have gotten out of control, and this isn't just like, and it's not just you people on the internet. There's also, like, if anything, the internet community, particularly the animation is cinema community. Yes, animation is cinema. We've heard that a billion times. And the whole, you know, animation fandom. So what? 2D animation and 3D animation are equal. And I actually like Disney's recent efforts. Like, have you even seen... Like, were you under a rock when Frozen was out in theaters? It was very successful. And Disney had been successful since, you know? Like, I think you people are I think a brick just might have hit you or something or whatever. I don't even know what might have happened, but something must have happened. I don't care if this is another Dark Age. I don't even care if other animation studios have made movies like Spider-Verse, K-pop Demon Hunters, and, you know, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish as good movies or whatever. But you guys are going too far.
What was that second one called?
K-pop Demon Hunters.
K-pop Demon Hunters, okay.
Don't get me wrong, I like a lot of the movies that I've listed, but the animation community just is so... They just weaponize it against Disney, and I am not one of those people.
Okay, so my problem with Disney is that they're rehashing a lot of things, but my problem is that they know the criticisms, they know that people are upset, and yet guess what? They see that as a business model at the end of the day. They just make money off of it. At the end of the day, like, if they want to change their trajectory, they need to listen to the criticism. They need to acknowledge that.
Well, that's kind of what they already are trying to do, but they should be trying harder than that.
Formula, and that, you know, we could try a little bit better, but, you know, again, I'm trying to speak in a more general sense. I'm not going to tell you exactly like what I think about Disney. I'm just going through a more general sense that, yeah, they need to step it up a bit if they want to really win back people's trust and win back people's love for Disney, because, you know, there's a lot of people that love Disney that are, you know, huge fans of Disney. I know you are a huge fan of Disney, but they want to see. They don't want to just watch a movie and think I'm gonna hate it because it's the 25th Disney remake or it's got another controversy.
Yeah, I never say anything like that.
They want to genuinely, you know, fall in love with Disney, but at the end of the day, something has to change. And I think
I just want to fall in love with the movie too. You know, I don't care what studio makes what. I only care about the movies. It's just that if you think about it, it's just that even if it's just the problem is, I mean, studios get away with doing something new, but for some reason they they get too much of a free pass because they're not Disney. Or maybe Disney gets so much flack just because their name's on everything they make, and what is wrong with them? I think that it leads to a lot of, there was this guy on, there are these people on sites like Reddit and DeviantArt and many other people, like I remember there was this guy, Toonie Guy. During his time on DeviantArt in the 2010s, he was alienated, all because Disney had decided to give up 2D animation in favor of 3D animation to progress and reduce labor costs. There was this guy on DeviantArt. He was a very, he's obviously an autistic guy, like, his name's Nick Sorensen. He had a DeviantArt account by the name of Toonie Guy, and he pretty much had when you first know him, he had this, like, love for traditional hand-drawn animation. And he desperately really hates CGI animation, and he pretty much shoves his opinions down everyone's throats. Like, he just wanted, he even bullied Disney repeatedly on Twitter, like, with all this save 2D animation stuff, like, you know, just to get his precious childhood back and stuff. Like, he even started a pointless petition to get Disney to cancel Wreck-It Ralph 2 and other Disney movies canceled and stuff. You know, just because, especially in Wreck-It Ralph 2, the princess's cameo in one heavily hyped scene, which is considered the highlight of the movie, and he was just butthurt and immature over the fact that his beloved waifus, which are obviously the Disney princess characters, like for example, Ariel, Tiana, Jasmine, Pocahontas, etc., have been, in his words, tragically defrosted and deflowered by evil CGI. Yeah, he's such a drama king, if anything.
Oh man.
Yeah, he, like seriously, social media has become a nightmare, which will be talked about later on, but we'll get to that later. You know, if anything, Disney should not be listening to people who are blinded by nostalgia. They should be doing, you know, whatever. They should be doing stuff for the current generation that doesn't really expect much from movies, you know, particularly kids or the general public, you know, like, besides, nostalgia is a very unhealthy feeling, like, and people are just blinded by it these days, like, it's why, you know, people say Disney remakes should be like the originals, like, you know, it's why they say Mulan should have had Mushu or musical numbers, or even in the case of Hercules, Dan DeVito should play Pain again. When you could just watch those original movies, they still exist. If you want to remake, they have to give a new take on them, you know? Whereas the sequels can still stay in the same universes, is all, you know? It's just, but like, we have to progress and we have to keep going no matter how many times or how it's done or whatever. Like, Hollywood should be a free industry and Disney should be a free studio, you know, just in a free brand doing whatever they want for the whole family, you know.
And this brings me to the next topic, which is obsession and Backrooms inspiring imitators that we could see on the rise. That leads us exactly to this topic. So what do you think about that? Especially since both Backrooms and Obsession have become very successful unexpectedly because they're by younger filmmakers who came from YouTube. They didn't come from the film industry, but they're now enrolled in the film industry after they've noticed that their YouTube work, well, at least in the case of Backrooms, has enabled, a little bit of Obsession, have enabled these filmmakers who already had some backing, right? They didn't just make these films completely like on their own. They had some backing that enabled them to make these films, and then the studios gave them that backing, and then the success was more like of a runaway kind of thing, because
Yeah,
they were aimed at a particular demographic that was already into things like YouTube or DIY filmmaking, or the sort of different take on how storytelling and filmmaking can be done without needing a major studio to micromanage everything. You know what I mean? And they're based on properties that originate from the internet anyways, right?
Yeah.
So how would you give your take on that, where a bunch of imitators could come along and try to copy the formula while maybe missing the point?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely missing the point. And actually falling flat in their faces to the point where, especially if they're right wing, for example, or, even if anything, it's this whole or even in the case of remember when Halloween was out and people were like, let's rip it off. That's what they did, and that resulted in stuff like Friday the 13th.
Yeah, there's like a pattern that you notice where when a successful movie comes out and then a bunch of imitators already come out, and you're using Halloween as an example, where Friday the 13th was one example of how it wrote off the success of Halloween. And you know what? Jaws was similar too, because after Jaws, there were many films that had either a shark or a scary creature or animal that tried to be similar, similar formula. Small town gets attacked by a monstrous animal, and then they try to hunt the animal down, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm worried that obsession Backrooms will lead to people kind of twisting those movies and missing the point by making their own movies as a way to twist the narrative and just, again, miss the point of what made those movies work, and, and it's gonna make me feel uncomfortable about, if anything, Hollywood should not be taking lessons from YouTubers, because YouTubers are not really professional quality in the way that they themselves think. If anything, Hollywood should be a free industry, Hollywood should be free to make whatever they want in the same way that everyone else is, And Obsession, for instance, it outperformed Enter the Dragon just recently as, the highest grossing low-budget film with a budget of $1 million. And
Outperformed which movie?
Enter the Dragon, the Bruce Lee movie.
Oh.
And it outperformed The Blair Witch Project as the highest grossing film festival movie. But yeah, I'm just concerned that
I saw that movie recently.
oh yeah,
The Blair Witch Project. I saw it recently.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite found footage films.
Yeah, as I was saying, I'm just worried that movies like Obsession and Backrooms will just lead to a lot of imitators and copycats and wannabes, that just filmmakers trying to do, particularly YouTubers trying to do what those movies did and completely missing
here's
the
where
points.
I'm going to disagree, because I feel like with YouTube is more accessible than Hollywood, I feel.
Yeah, but YouTube is flooded with right-wingers and extremists.
Not everybody.
But you know what I mean.
Yes, I know, not everybody. But the thing is that YouTube, you can upload a video online, and even though you're not going to get millions of subscribers right away or have a content that's monetized right away, if you keep doing it long enough and you know just enough about how the algorithm works, eventually you could get there. I mean, I got there with my own channel, Soaring Studio Struggle 7. Link in the description, and I hope you subscribe to that channel. Okay, So yeah, it's monetized now. I make content there, but even then, it's not like I'm making millions of dollars. I get paid a certain amount I get paid hundreds of dollars at most, right? And I keep trying to be consistent with my uploading schedule, even though it's hard, right? It is difficult. So YouTube, I would say, does give people a democratized, accessibility to making media, right? You don't have to go to Hollywood to make films on a big budget. People can do it with whatever software they have at home, with whatever skills that they have. and the effects, if they are capable of making effects movies, they can do it, on their own. I mean, I've made films like that. We've made films already that shows that we don't always need a Hollywood budget to back it up. It's just that Hollywood is now just one approach, and it's the institutional, system that enables the creation of media, but it's done with the incentives of a big corporation. Because you got to remember that when you're making a movie at Warner Brothers or Disney or Paramount,
or anybody else,
or anyone else, you have to make the movie according to how they see it, because they want to get these movies done fast, right? They want these films to meet deadlines. They want that efficiency so that way they can get it done. And it usually involves cutting out things in a script, or studio manages, and sometimes interferes with the director's vision and things like that. And that happens. We have to look out for these things, because it really shows that the relationship between director and studio is more intertwined than we like to, and people like to think. People like to credit the director, like only the writer or the writer. But it's more of a network where the director, writer, actor, producers, they all worked within the studio, because the studio gave them just enough creative freedom, but not too much, right? Because I don't think directors should have unlimited freedom. I think there should be some limits too. That shows that.
Yeah, but I feel like my movies should not be limited at all. Like,
well, I mean, that's your approach, man. I mean,
I feel like movies should not be limited at all. I don't think anyone should be making movies with limits. Like, if you want to make a movie that is basically like an otherworldly sort of thing, and all this other stuff, like kind of what you see in cartoons but brought to life in live action, like kind of like what they did with like Matrix or Lord of the Rings or whatever, or Pirates of the Caribbean. Don't do it with limits. It has to be, it has to literally be big, like, do it and not let anyone say no, like, I think, like, I just feel like, like, not enough people give, say, live action adaptations of cartoons and not the credit that they deserve. They deserve more respect in the same way that their bassists do. I think people just don't understand that live action and animation are both equally good. None is superior to the other, and I think any story can be told no matter what, no matter the medium.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the last two topics. Okay.
Yeah.
So they are the genre preferences and how it has influenced your films.
Yeah. Genre preferences. That's a good question. Well, my genre preferences are action, sci-fi, fantasy, and epic.
Okay, so a list of genres that you like. Can you repeat that? Action,
sci-fi, fantasy, and epic.
And then epic. Okay, so there you go. And how many of your films would you say channel some of that influence, right? Because I've seen the short films like Vanished, very sci-fi, very mysterious. It's got people vanishing out of existence, right?
Yeah.
And it's left open to whether it's aliens or whether it's something else. And that's something that I think is very interesting, how you're not just taking the most generic stuff, you're trying to do something different with it, right?
Yeah. We're just doing it with the resources we had, like especially, After Effects and all these other things. We were, obviously it was rough, but we, the effects process was rough, but we got it on time, so, And obviously, basically, I want to make the kind of movies that that James Cameron makes. He's one of my favorite directors, along with Steven Spielberg and Peter Jackson and George Lucas and all these people that break conventions in filmmaking. I really want to change. I really want to push the boundaries of mainstream movies and franchise movies and everything, and push the limits of what movies can do. I know, I really have plans to make a live-action, big-screen, big-budget adaptation of Kim Possible for Disney for a potential summer 2027 release or something like that, maybe. And it's gonna really be the ultimate action movie of this generation. It's probably gonna be the next Pirates of the Caribbean or the next Mad Max Fury Road, probably. We don't know. I think it's if anything, when Brian and I were in film school, we had a hard time connecting with our peers and our professor. They just wouldn't shut the hell up about Euphoria, and we had and all we heard was people saying praises about art house stuff and Euphoria and stuff, and then in fact, I didn't really care. We didn't really care about any of that stuff. We were more interested in James Bond and John Wick and Star Wars, Marvel, big movies, maybe even Christian. Basically, we were interested in regular movies that regular people can enjoy.
Well, I'm going to add to this by showing that I'm into mainstream films, but I also like films that are more indie, that are more niche-based, because they touch on specific subject matter that I don't think mainstream films cover all that much. And then I like films that are hybrid-based, where they have mainstream appeal, but they also are very targeting towards a particular audience or a particular demographic. And mind you, not every movie of that appeal I like. I don't like every indie movie or every hybrid film. And with mainstream films, they touch on appeal, right? They can touch on a subject matter, but still make it accessible for a wide audience, because different people are going to pick it up on different things, right? Some people will focus on the cinematography, some will focus on the performances, some will focus on the setting, some people focus on the story, and others focus on the style or the themes or what else?
Really, because I'd rather just focus on the movie as a whole.
The premise itself, yeah. And with niche films, they tend to focus more on the appeal of the genre itself, the subject matter itself, where you have a movie that is not aimed at everybody, but it's aimed at a particular audience. And I like those films at times because there are subject matters that mainstream films don't cover enough. They don't go too much into detail. And it's something that I think will rise more in prominence, because we have millions of people that have different perspectives and different voices, and they want to channel that into art, want to channel that into film or music or YouTube. Because remember, YouTube is now one
but it's being abused
of mass communication. Oh, in the case of film, is that it's breaking down those barriers where there's no centralized form of mainstream identity. It's now multiple fragmented identities, and the bad thing about this is that it basically creates this identity crisis, if you say, in the film industry, where like, oh, which perspective is now the most dominant? Because now we realize there's no dominant cultural lens. There's no monoculture. You know what I mean? Like, there were once films that had that monoculture. Everybody was talking about Star Wars. Everybody was talking about The Matrix. Everybody was talking about Friends. Everyone was talking about The Simpsons. Everyone was talking about
Titanic.
Titanic. Everyone was talking about, you could say, Avatar and
Lord of the Rings.
I would say Lord of the Rings. But even then, they were still just one movie among many. They weren't the only films coming out that year. And there were other films that were being released that got overlooked. And then it took years for people to actually reevaluate them. Because the audience, it didn't find its audience on time, or people just didn't know what to say about the movie. They didn't have the words for it just yet, if that makes sense. And the thing is that I like to kind of bounce between different appeals. You know, I like to do mainstream, I like to do niche, and I like to do hybrids. For me, that variety for me is just rich, because I just love how you can have different films that touch on different subject matters while still being appealing to a wide range of audiences. Can I show you some examples? And I think I want to do this to illustrate what I mean. Okay, so hold up. I'm still recording. Don't turn it off. I'm still recording. Let me see if I can pick an example here. Oops, sorry. Because I have some examples. I'm just looking for it. But yeah, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I do. God, how long are we gonna be in this?
How long are we gonna record this thing?
Yeah, this is what I'm worried about.
I mean, we could chop it up in the editing.
Yeah, or
I don't think this section's gonna make the final cut. I think I'm gonna chop it down to like the essential elements that would make a podcast, so that way it's not too long, right?
Okay, so what are the essential, like
when I'm on camera and when I'm talking about the movie, I'm looking at some. I don't know.
Try, you can try this one.
Blade Runner? No. Because I already have 2 movies here.
Okay. Hey, what about the Ten Commandments?
Maybe, but no, that's too big. Yeah. You know what? I'm just gonna stick to these 2.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick to these 2. Okay. So I have these 2 films, right? Here we have Barbie, 2023, a movie that exploded at the box office and was one of the biggest cultural events of 2023. It came out on the same day as Oppenheimer, which led to the phenomenon of Barbenheimer.
Which I found annoying, but I still love those 2 movies.
And we know that it's based on the toy line, the Mattel toy line.
Barbie.
Yeah, Barbie. And we know the movie is aimed at a wide audience, but it still covers like topics that are very relevant, very mainstream, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the case of what femininity and masculinity mean in our current era, right? While still being a movie about Barbie, because that's what Barbie is about. You know, it's like a mainstream movie. Greta Gerwig directed this. She was already behind Lady Bird and Little Women. Those are 2 films that, even though they were successful, but they were more niche based. They were more, focused on a particular subject matter.
Yeah, and character driven.
Yeah, more character driven. Whereas Barbie is like a more mass appealing movie that is trying to be entertaining, but also trying to be social commentary, right? Yeah. And then similar case, we have something like Parasite, Bong Joon-ho's movie, where
an Academy Award winner.
Yeah, it's an Academy Award winning movie. Technically, the movie it's not meant to be like a big budget blockbuster. It's not meant to be.
It was obviously a South Korean.
Yeah, South Korean movie. Sorry. So South Korean movie, very like niche based because it is about South Korean identity, South Korean culture, but it's also broadly appealing because of the fact that it's about class anxiety. It's about class inequality. It's about how messed up the systems that trap people inside really are, right? People are born into systems they didn't choose, and yet they still have to navigate it using their wit, using their intelligence, using their resources, right?
Yeah.
And Parasite was really trying to highlight that inequality that was already present in South Korea and already present throughout the world. That really clicked with people, even though the movie is not intended to be big budget blockbuster, not intended to be on the same level as Barbie, but
not even intended to be on the same level as a movie like 1917 was the movie that came out the same year as this.
Yeah, same year.
Was bad pick.
Other movies that came out the same year were Joker, Knives Out, and Us, because all of them were similar themes, right? Class,
yeah, although they did it differently. Joker, in the case of basically doing a Scorsese type, low rent comic book movie.
Yeah, and the thing about Parasite is that you can have a movie that's like hybrid based. It's not strictly niche. It's not strictly aimed for one audience. It can be broadly appealing, or you can make a movie like Barbie where it is more broadly appealing, while still having different audiences pick up something that mainstream audiences don't pick up on. I think I found something. That's niche. Hold up.
Yeah.
I think it's right here. It's right here. Hold up. Yeah, right here. I would say this is niche. I would say this one. Even though I've actually never seen this movie.
Be Kind, Rewind.
Yeah, Be Kind, Rewind.
Why we should remain stagnant,
Technically, it's got actors that are recognizable. Danny Glover and Jack Black. But this movie is like, based on how it looks, right? Just based on the cover, based on the subject matter, it looks like two video store
clerks.
Yeah, video store clerks. And Danny Glover's got a camera that shows these people are into video, these people are into film, or into VHS tapes, right?
Yeah, and it's
niche subject matter, right?
Yeah, it's a comedy.
Comedy, niche. What else?
It was Sundance.
Yeah, Sundance. Okay.
And it's directed by the guy who did Eternal Sunshine and Spotless Mind.
Yeah. So not intended to be big budget blockbuster, not intended to be for all audiences, but it is covering a niche subject matter. And is the movie successful? Was the movie?
Well, it was a so-so.
Yeah. So this is an example of a movie that touches a very specific. Maybe not
basically changing society and changing technology.
Changing society and technology.
And changing what we sell.
Like maybe not
changing consumerism.
Yeah. Maybe not too specific, but it's specific enough, right?
Yeah.
It's an example of a niche movie that shows, you can have something like this that it's not for everybody, but it's a movie that still appeals to a particular audience, right?
Yeah.
That really shows that, you have different levels of films that appeal to different audiences, right? And that's what I'm trying to circle back here that I mentioned earlier, that I like to make films that basically are niche or are mainstream or are hybrid in their appeal. You don't have to stick strictly to mainstream. You don't have to do strictly niche-based films. That's one of the issues I have with Robert Eggers as a director, where he's now become like a brand in itself. It's like when he collaborates with well-known established actors, like, I see through it now. I just saw the trailer for Werewolf.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh yeah, I just saw it, and while it looks solid, I mean, I can already tell like this pattern is getting old now, because Robert Eggers is so specific in his style, so specific in his tone, so specific in how he approaches the historical subject matter, which I'm okay with. I mean, history is fascinating, but it's like it's now becoming a formula that
same thing with Quentin Tarantino these days. I feel like he's becoming a formula.
It's a formula that I'm now recognizing that shows that collaborating with the same actors that he's been collaborating with already, same gray, desaturated colors palette, whatever. It's like, and he doesn't want to make any movie made today. He's very much into that folklore.
Or any movie set today.
Yeah, any movie set today. And as far as he goes, it's the 1950s. That's
and that's just delusional.
I wouldn't say it's delusional. It's more of a case that he's just got different references. And what's interesting about this is that he's using modern technology anyways. He
for like CG, especially CGI for visual effects.
And despite the subject matter that he approaches, he's still using and benefiting from.
And yet he still uses celluloid film to film his movies.
Yeah, very anachronistic if you think about it. And even then, he's not doing it just because he hates the current times. I mean, he's doing it because he's more fascinated by history, by how
and just trying to preserve the beauty of history,
even though history was not
the beauty and the darkness of history.
Yeah, beauty and darkness of history. But that just shows that I'm starting to see that directors like that
showing the gloominess of history, showing how history was as gloomy as it is today.
Yeah, pretty much. But the thing is that, okay, and the other director is Wes Anderson. I'm not like a big Wes Anderson guy.
Yeah, me neither. I like the Grand Budapest Hotel though,
because
and I
I'm
do
now
like
starting to see a pattern.
Fantastic Mr. Fox, and you know, I mean, I've seen a few of his films, but like, I feel like when I first heard about the Grand Budapest Hotel getting all this praise and winning all the awards, I was like, why is this movie so good? I don't get it. Until I studied it during lockdown and in film school during lockdown, and I kind of loved it, but I still don't trust Wes Anderson as one of my favorite directors. But
he's a director that
he's still
very much like...
He's someone I have a love-hate relationship with.
He's a director that I just find very strange.
Yeah, me too.
Because he's eccentric, but in ways that like, okay, what exactly is so appealing about this? And another thing too is that his films do examine class and do examine privilege and do examine status, but he is from a privileged position. We have to remember that he comes from that background. So it's almost like he's making these films as a way to reflect on that upbringing, or as a way to channel the frustration he has with it, or maybe just because it's his thing, right? The pastel colors and the symmetrical, architecture and the characters that are like standing there saying all these quirky lines is like very constructed worlds, but they don't really deal much with reality, like reality as it truly is, right? Very controlled, very synthetic, very like stylized worlds that, like, on the one hand, yes, it's interesting, right? Some of these movies are visually very appealing, but on the other hand, how long can someone go making this kind of movie that shows, like, he's constructing a version of life that how he sees it, but not everybody sees it that way, right?
Yeah.
And it's not really relatable. Like, I don't find it relatable that he makes a movie about quirky guy in a rich suit, saying all these quirky lines, and yet he's just standing there, like, very still, and he's ranting about existence, even though he is materially prosperous, right?
Yeah, I feel like that's just Yorgos Lanthimos' collaborations with Emma Stone.
And that's the other director that I'm not a huge fan of, Yorgos Lanthimos. Even though I would like to watch films like The Lobster or Killing Sacred Deer or Poor Things or Begonia, I do want to watch them.
The Favorite is the one I am very concerned about. I heard that mom watched it and she didn't like it. My mom watched it. She hated it.
Which one?
The Favorite.
Oh, The Favorite?
She did not like how it showed and how it told the story. Like, it is basically the three lead actresses using Anglo-Saxon cuss words in every line of dialogue while staring at each other's asses.
Oh, man. Very repetitive, huh?
Yeah. Bare asses.
And the other thing, too, is that it makes me wonder, who are these films for? Who does Wes Anderson and Yorgos Lanthimos make these movies for? For themselves, or for audiences that are only of their background? Like, it makes me wonder.
Yeah.
Who exactly are these films for?
Yeah.
Because they have that visual style that's, pastelly, it's colorful, but they're hiding deeper social anxieties that shows that they're, well, in the case of Wes Anderson, he might be reflecting his frustration with his privileged background. That shows that, he's trying to make this into meaningful art because he sees through the vanity of material existence that shows he's yearning for, meaning. Maybe it could be that, or maybe it's just a way of flexing his stylistic choices. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's not really, like, Wes Anderson is a director that I just don't really resonate with. I don't care much about what he makes. It just feels like he's out of touch. Like, I feel like if there's any director that's out of touch, it's Wes Anderson. His films barely...
Even I feel Quentin Tarantino
except for Isle of Dogs. I think that's the one movie I'll give credit for, because that movie's...
I love Isle of Dogs.
Yeah, because that one had environmentalist themes, and that one did acknowledge that... does acknowledge deeper, harsher realities, even though it's done through stop motion.
Yeah, and the stop motion animation in that movie looked very beautiful.
It's not bad. It's that style. It works so much better in stop motion than it does in live action.
Yeah, especially if you have talking dogs. I think we can. I think this is this is a nice time to, I guess, stop the...
Oh, one last thing. Just one last thing.
Oh, yeah, right.
Social media. Does that need backseat?
Oh, yeah, we were about to get to that. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, I feel like, how are we gonna start that off? We'll let you start it off first.
I feel like social media is very much like a double-edged sword because on the one hand, it does connect people with technology, but on the other hand, it fosters the worst in people and it just amplifies what's already hidden with humans, right? With human nature, where you hear one bad thing about your favorite movie, sports team, or political party, and you just go ape shit, right?
Yeah, there's always the you tend to say something that's either in line with like the popular consensus, and they're gonna say, no, that movie's terrible, and that's a big social media no-no, and it's been very much abused to this point that I feel like it's time for a blackout for that as punishment for all these platforms. Pretty much they've pretty much ruined film criticism and distorted it for the worst. And I feel like, for those who are on your phones right now, I feel like you're watching way too much clickbait videos or like
the thing is that social media is not inherently bad. It's not bad to use Instagram or TikTok.
But
it's just that use it as a tool. Use it as something that allows you to share.
But it shouldn't be. But apparently there are like critics out there that are just abusing it as just out of frustration because because they're not getting the attention that they want as people.
Yeah, and keep in mind that these algorithms that you see on Instagram and TikTok, they're designed for outrage.
Same thing with YouTube, even.
Yeah, YouTube also. They're designed for that quick, short-term attention spam. It's designed to reward the loudest voices instead of more nuanced perspectives. That shows people on social media are not always toxic people that have nothing better to do at the time but complain about
but
everything.
For those of the people who don't know about this, I suggest you click the don't recommend channel button, maybe even change the settings on your accounts to something like, I don't know, restricted mode or whatever. Maybe I'm just going a bit too far, but like, I'd suggest you think of something that, like, in any event, like, you have to be very wary of this sort of thing because, like I am, because there are people out there who just want to watch the world burn. As Michael Caine, who plays Alfred in The Dark Knight, says. Or at least that's what his character says. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. If anything, these people on YouTube and on TikTok and Twitter, well, now X, actually, and Instagram, no offense, they have no reasoning for what they do. They have no... They cannot be trusted. The reason they are who they are and what they are, among anything else, is this. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
You already said that.
I know, but I have to spell it out more sufficiently. Yeah. In any case, I feel like it's time that the administrations of these sites, if they're watching this video right now, learn that they are making a huge mistake letting the most horrible people, no matter how horrible they are, run amok on these sites. Okay, and I feel like it's time. It's time for a change of laws.
And what I would do is, if there's a video or a post I don't like, I just click the don't recommend button. That's it. I mean, I'm not going to try to argue that why is this video being shown on my feed. I don't want a clip of a movie I dislike to be on my feed because I hate
or even a disagreement.
Because whenever I think of that movie, there's plenty of them, and you have some of them in your collection. Like, I don't see the movie, I see the discourse. I see the movie was designed to generate these reactions. Even when the movie's culturally significant, I still disagree. And when I disagree, people think of me as I'm the enemy. Like, I'm the one who's out of touch, or I'm the one who doesn't get film. And that's not true. You're just giving your opinion on the movie. That's it. You're not required to like every movie that's ever been made or watch every movie.
I mean,
a movie can be culturally significant and successful, and yet you may not click with it. You may not resonate with it. That's happened with many films. There's many films that I've never heard or never seen and don't care about because it doesn't grab me in the same way that another movie does. You know, in 2016 and 2017, there was plenty of films that came out in those years that I strongly disliked because I can clearly tell that they were made for discourse. They were not made to be films. You know, they ride that line between what's exploitative, what they're trying to exploit a real topic, turn that into entertainment, and yet people argue about it for days. And even when it is well liked by critics, you never know if it's done like, oh, they like it because of the filmmaking aspects, or they like it because it is pushing a certain narrative that I just don't agree with, a certain messaging. And we talked about this on our way here, where the movie is not really made for you. It's made for someone else in mind, and I can respect that if it's a demographic thing, right?
Yeah, but if importantly, there are extremely unintelligent people who want things like, particularly conservatives, and you know, all these, like, no offense to you,
I'm not too skewed on either side of the political spectrum.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't feel like I am.
Like people who dwell in the basements of their parents' house or whatever, and are just outsiders and don't, you know, and are just bad at communicating and they're basically trolls and
troublemakers.
Yeah, they're troublemakers.
And maybe some of them are bots too. You never know.
Yeah, heck, they're just a bad representation of what a real man should be.
Okay, yeah. So 2016 and 2017 had a lot of films I disliked.
As much as there were movies that you liked.
Yeah, there were a lot of movies that I did like. That show, they were made for discourse. They were made to grab people's attentions on a particular topic, and I don't feel like supporting it, right? I don't feel like supporting films like Lady Bird or Get Out or The Shape of Water or what's another movie I disliked that came out of that time frame?
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, Ghostbusters. 2016.
Honestly, that should have been a much different.
These are all films that were not made to be movies. They were all made to grab your attention.
Honestly, I feel like that one should have been a spin-off and not a reboot.
If people like these movies, that's perfectly fine. You know, it's again, different audiences will like different things. It's just that you got to remember that attention is the real currency in the media world, right?
Yeah. It's
not just whether the movie's good or bad, whether it grabs attention, whether it holds people on for long enough. And many of these films, yes, people still talk about them, but at the end of the day, don't expect everybody to like them in the same way that you do.
Yeah,
it's not required by...
Yeah, and the same thing goes with you too, haters of any movie you hate. Don't expect everyone to agree with you.
And there's no law in society or in the universe, you know, there's no metaphysical law or no legal law that says you have to like every movie. You don't. You know, you like the movie, great. And you dislike the film, great. Move on with it. But the good thing is that there were films in that time that I liked too. The good thing is that there were many films of 2016 and 2017 that I liked too. And I'd like to get to those someday, but we're running short, right? We're about to end it in just a moment.
Yeah, I think click the like.
No, just before we end it.
Yeah.
I feel like the political landscape of that time period when Trump got into office, I feel like that played a role too.
Yeah.
Especially when Trump made people not only divided over who was our leader and who was our president of this country, but who is basically
who we really are.
Yeah, who we really are as a nation, and what do we trust, and what do we watch, and how do we define ourselves, right? I'm not saying Trump created this mess. He didn't. He just amplified what was already there, like what was already underneath the shaking ground, right? And Trump was basically the catalyst for amplifying these traits that were already building up, and that's something that I would like to explore more in a future podcast video.
Trump can go to hell for all I care.
Trump can go to hell. It's not going to be titled Trump in Hollywood, but more like how did Trump amplify, politics and media, something like that. I think, or Trump in media, or
how
Trump politics. Yeah.
How Trump ruined everything.
Well, I mean, that's how you like to put it. I mean, but hey, that might grab the algorithm's attention, and
or rather, how about something like
how Trump amplified the politics already in media, or I don't know, like already in like.
Why don't we just try a more simple thing, media v Trump or something.
Trump and media politics. Oh, that's a simple title.
I love that.
Yeah, Trump and the politics of media. Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the end of this podcast. I will put the title after we're done editing this video. I'm really thankful that you made it this far. If you're watching this video,
click the like button, rate, subscribe, maybe comment. It doesn't matter how you do it.
Yes, and look out for more videos like this in the future. This is MediaMystic. We're signing off. Hope you have a great day.
Suchman.
Yeah, Ben Suchman. Hope you have a great day. Bye.
Bye.